Lap, Josh Iroku. Good to see you, bud.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
It's been a year since I saw you last. Last year you drove the previous car that I featured here.
The V8 car,
right,
yes.
the V8 car. What's up guys, Larry Chen here. We're at Circuit of the Americas for Super Lap Battle. I've actually featured one of Josh's cars before. The 1UZ powered AE86, which I dubbed like the Japanese Mustang.
Yeah.
It felt so good, it sounded right, all of that. But that's not for all-out speed. That is a modern take on what an AE86 should be. But this just takes it to the next level. Also, on top of that, right now, you're shaking because you just put in your...
I did a personal best in this car. This is the first session I've got today. I went out earlier with not enough fuel, so the car was cutting out. The tires are fresh. This is our first real scrub, and we're lowering the pressures, so the next session should be better, but I've already beat the personal best of the car before, and the last 2 times I brought this car to Super Lap Battle, I broke the tail shaft off the transmission due to vibrations, and that was at about 127. This last session, I saw an indicated 152 on the back straightaway.
152 miles an hour.
Yes.
In an AE86.
Yeah, it's as bad as it sounds too. Like, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of noises, slight vibrations, but it made it through the laps, and I'm happy.
In the stock trim, when this car originally came out, the only way you could make 150 miles an hour is if you dropped it out of an airplane.
Correct. Yes.
What was the top speed of an 11 like this?
I don't know. I mean, I guess they were about 110 horsepower maybe with the 4AG. So nothing even close to that. And you know, the V8 car has always felt really good, and I thought it was pretty fast, but I didn't have to make any compromises with this car. I decided I could gut it, I could do whatever I wanted. But this is still one of my original 2 chassis that I've had since the early 2000s. The motor is an F22C that I purchased out of a car in Dallas. It had like 44,000 miles. Me and some buddies went up there and pulled it out of the car, brought it home. It started NA on an AAM V2 with about 220 horse. That's the trim that it had been in for the previous events. This last year, I found a really good deal on a used HKS supercharger from an S2000, and I went ahead and installed that. It does have all the components from that kit, but I've cut everything and adapted stuff to make it work in this chassis, but it had a ton of room. It was really easy to do.
My absolute favorite part of this build is this intake. The fact that you turn the headlight, you 3D printed this.
This is one of my favorite pieces too. My buddy Jonas at Automotive, that is a longtime 86 guy from Texas. I asked him about it. I had seen another company that had made one. The Silk Road version had a headlight in it, and I wanted one that was just completely open. And then this is a RIP Superchargers filter that they use for a supercharger kit for JK Jeeps. I just really liked the way it looked, and it all worked together. Fabricated the intake pipe into the back of the supercharger, removed the restrictor so that there's no restriction to it, and it is one of my favorite pieces.
This is so ingenious. Like, it funnels the air into here, filtered, makes a U-turn straight into the supercharger. And then it goes here. You have a front mount here, or?
Yes, I do. In fact, I just recently redid all of the front air ducting. I was having some heating issues on initial testing, and then I revamped all this, taking a page out of like Eric Coutil's book and all that, and just made sure that any airflow that hits the front of this car is going through all of my heat exchangers, and it's working flawlessly.
Because you got a lot of stuff going on here. You have the intercooler, you have an oil cooler back there too, right?
I have a big oil cooler.
And
I have my radiator laid back, and then behind the Levin grill is the oil cooler for the supercharger.
Oh,
so
it's separate.
Right. So
because it's not a Roots type, it's like a...
No, it's like a Roadtrek style, but HKS's is their own proprietary.
It's super clean, it's just like your other build. This is even more true to what a AE86 obviously came with. You know, it was an inline 4.
Right.
This, of course, it's not a Toyota motor, a Honda motor, but to reiterate what I said before about the AE86 being a car that was really never meant to be special.
Right.
It was a pedestrian car with modest horsepower fun to drive, but it was
Absolutely.
never meant to go this fast.
No, I take a lot of inspiration, as always, from the N2 series in Japan. I still pay homage to Japanese car culture. Even at 46, I'm still watching videos on YouTube and enjoying all of it. I really like how this old chassis people are still making parts and developing parts. And as we were talking about earlier, they're gaining, you know, popularity. They're becoming more rare. They're becoming valuable. And in the beginning, they weren't. They were throwaway cars.
In terms of Japanese culture, you gotta check out your race suit. I love it. You got Totoro on the back?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time watching anime with my two children. My son just turned 17, my daughter's 9, and we've been watching Demon Slayer, and we watch all the good stuff together. That's how they communicate, so,
That's so cool.
It's the best thing to do.
11 front end, is this an actual
Yes.
one that you imported from Japan? Or?
This is an actual 11 front end. This is the headlights and everything I got from T3 back whenever they were carrying all that. This is a Zinc 11 grill that I got. The body kit is all legit CBY from Japan back whenever we could still get those, and it's all worked really good. I have an over fender on the back, a fine line tuning. I guess it's like a 20 or 30 mil, and then I stacked the CBY fender flare on top of that to accommodate the 15 by 11 and a half rear wheels that I have on it currently.
And these wheels, are these Epsilons?
Those are Southern Ways,
Yeah.
and I got them from Love 20B, Matt Cochan, that does all the wheels.
He built my wheels.
Dude, he
Yeah.
does an awesome job, and his customer service is excellent. I got these several years ago, but they never made a street tire that was wide enough to fit on them. And for this event, I couldn't get the AO52 due to shortages, and it just so happened Jackie helps me get my tires from Nanking, and I got some 275-35s on the back and a 245-40, which this is the widest rubber I've ever had on the car. And I like the AR1, it's a good grippy tire.
And it still kind of sticks out a little
It
bit,
is,
which is
and
so
it's
perfect.
and it's stretched over
It's
the
so
rim
cool.
just ever so slightly.
So how wide is the wheel? It's
11
very
and a
wide.
half.
11
yeah.
and a half.
Yeah, almost a 12
By 15.
15.
Jeez, incredible. There's just so much. I mean, we can spend so long talking about this car. There's so many little things that you've massaged. This actually started out life as a US street car then.
So this was my first 8.6. It was an SR5. I bought it on eBay, and we drove to Sebring, Florida to pick it up from a group of Puerto Rican drag racers. The car had a 12A ported rotary engine with Mikuni side drafts on it, and it was a drag car. It had Weld mini ultralights on it. And I brought it home. I street raced it for a little while in that trim. And then I started changing things, putting a square tire setup, changed the suspension. And then I autocrossed it and did SCCA for a while with it. Then I took the motor out, you know, because I was going to build a Turbo 2 motor. That didn't happen. The car left me and then came back 10 years later in exactly the same way. The guy bought it, put it in a garage and never touched it. And then I got it back and I turned it into a drift car. It had a 2.3 liter SVO turbo Ford engine that I put in it. Sacrilege, I know. With a T5, I drifted it for a while and then I smashed it because that's what you do when you drift. And I pushed it into storage for a year and then decided I wanted to bring it back out and do an uncompromised time attack car that didn't have to have interior or any creature comforts. And
in grand fashion.
Everything is garage built. Everything, you know, I did pretty much at home that I could. All the splitters, all the...
Did you make this too?
No, this is actually was a group buy on Club 4AG probably, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe. Same thing with the spoiler, was a group buy off of Club 4AG. So the Corolla community has always helped me get a lot of these parts that were hard to find and get.
So all this stuff here, you made all
It's
of
the same
splitters.
one that's on the V8 car. I just switch them. I made one and it fits both cars, so that's what I use for the back. The front splitter is different.
Powered by Honda.
We try to pay homage to as much as we can.
This looks so good. It's like you have the over fender plus you have the flare.
Yeah, it works out.
Yeah, it works really,
And that's
really
that's
nice.
the difference with quality parts from Japan, that they just fit.
I love the throwback TRD livery too.
That livery has been very good to me. You know, the car was inspired by a Toyota race car, so it's worked out.
So what are you doing in terms of brakes? Because it is just so much more power, which, by the way, how much power is this?
So we went from 220 to 350, and that's at a relatively low 8 pounds of boost. But the way that it comes on is so linear, and so it just hits really hard, and it's just like VTEC plus plus plus. As soon as it pops, this thing is ready to hit red line.
That's 350 to the wheels.
Yes.
Which is 4 times more to the wheels than stock.
And this car weighs 2,080 pounds. So it's quite a bit lighter. I'm not going to tell you what it weighs with me in it. It's basically a GTR at that point. Yeah. But just sitting here, she's pretty light.
So cool. Okay, so then what are you doing for brakes? Because
I use the same tried and true brakes that I do on the V8 car. It's just FC calipers. And I'm currently on Raybestos ST pads, and they work fantastic for me. Because the car is very light, the compound is friendly. I don't have any type of ABS or anything like that, so if I get too overzealous, I'll flat spot the tires, and I pay for my tires, so I try not to do that.
One of the things you talked about before we're rolling, this is the only piece of glass.
Yeah, the windshield is still glass. There's still door glass in the doors, but everything else that I could change is Lexan. And the car still maintains tags. It's registered, insured, and I tested on the street.
In Texas.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's like copying the original.
It is. I try, you know. I mean, those are the little details that you look at in a car. That's for whatever amount of time it took me to tape it off and paint it. It sure looks a hell of a lot better than seeing what's behind it.
This is really neat too. Technotoy, they built these.
Yeah, they
for
made
you
those.
Or
no, they just had them in the catalog. In fact, the glass and those are Technotoy tuning. So is the back deck lid, all that's all T3.
All of this.
Right.
This is cool because I'm sure when you're going at 150, this probably moves a lot.
It could potentially move a lot. I know whenever I installed this, I had to trim this Lexan ever so slightly to fit in here, but it's in there pretty good. It was definitely a chore.
Wowee. This is a very, very, very clean build. Everything is nice in terms of fit and finish. I love the tranny tunnel here. Very clean.
All homemade at home, just sheet metal and a brake, and I try to keep it as serviceable as possible. Since I've broken the transmission twice, it's nice that this comes off relatively easily, so I can get to stuff.
And this is a S2000 transmission?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We went to a 2-piece drive shaft with a rubber carrier in the center now, and that seems to have really, really helped. Now at 150, it is still vibrating, but nothing like it was before. It just doesn't feel like it's gonna come apart every lap.
And with all that power now versus stock, what rear end are you running?
I have got a Weir built 6.7, just the factory, but he does a really good job of beefing them up. And we put a 373 ratio in it because I wanted a little longer leg for the big straightaway. Just your auto power 4-point bolt-in roll bar. The doors are factory, so they still have the factory door beam inside. So they're not gutted or anything, because I know that seems to be a lot of safety concern. I get a lot of people asking me why I don't have a cage. It's because I still want it to be a street car. If I ever decide to sell it at some point, it's a lot harder when you got a full roll cage welded in it. So that's just one of the reasons why I do that.
And your class that you run in, it doesn't require a full
No,
cage.
limited, you can go with this setup, so it works out pretty good that way.
This is really neat too. I love how clean this is.
Yeah, the T3 panels are nice. They work well.
Cool.
The finish is good. I've got the heel plate too that works out really nice. But other than that, that's really about all that's in here.
The dash is actually in really good condition, considering I'm sure it's been through hell and back.
Well, I've did a good job collecting these parts. Oh, here he comes.
No worries. Sorry. When I featured your other car, you told me about this car, and I got so excited. And I thought to myself, one day I have to feature your other car too.
I'm really honored and happy that you did. The exposure I got from the first video was awesome. I got a lot of positivity. The internet isn't always full of positivity. I didn't get one message or one comment from anybody that was rude or ugly. And still, even recently, I have people tell me that what I said in the video was so on as far as the way that the scene is and the industry is and just the love for cars. So I'm just gonna continue with that vibe. I do this because I love it. I built this car, and this is how I, prove to myself that I can build a car at home. I can race with the big dogs and go to the big show, and so can you.
Because you're not out here as a factory driver.
No.
You're not racing for somebody for bragging rights or whatever. You're just out here for yourself.
Yes.
And also, you're not building on any guideline. You're building for yourself to make yourself enjoy this.
I make compromises for style all the time. I want it to look a certain way and perform well. Sometimes that means that I will put more emphasis on the way that it looks, just because I still want to fit in that Japanese style. I want it to look good and perform well.
That's why when Jiro comes around, he's floored when he sees this car.
Hey, I was fanboying out. I absolutely, I've been watching his series and everything. I'm honored. I'm honored to have anybody come up and tell me that they like the car.
Cool.
Because, I built it.
What was your best time just now?
236 flat, which is a second faster than my personal best in this car. Still faster than the V8 car. From here on out, I should be able to drop a couple more, maybe more. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, good luck. We'll be watching you, and yeah, I'm so stoked on it. I cannot wait. We're gonna get some nice pictures of this thing on pit lane later.
Awesome.
When the light is really good. So, see you guys
yeah,
then.
some good in-car video.
Oh yeah.